What's the worst thing you can say in an elevator full of people? True story. My mom and dad were in a crowded elevator while my mom was very obviously pregnant to the point of bursting. I guess she looks at my dad and says, "When are you going to tell your wife about me?" My parents are happily married. She was just pranking him. My dad said it was the longest elevator ride of his life. Pretending to talk on a phone. Well, the doctor will let me know as soon as the test results are back if it's tuberculosis. Before we start, does anyone want to get out? I'm sorry, I have to do this. Don't say anything at all, but take the whole trip standing at the door, facing in. I love that half the comments are all about farting and the other half are all homicidal maniac one-liners. Perfectly balanced. Has anyone seen the movie Devil, where people get stuck in an elevator? And someone goes on a killing spree? That noise your body involuntarily makes right before you're about to puke. Saying the floor numbers out loud. Stand in the corner facing away from everyone, bang your head against the wall and say, "No, I won't do it, no, not again." I am a delivery driver and anytime I'm in an elevator with people I say, "You hear about all the people who died in this elevator?" That was good for me. How was it for all of you? Remember, no Russian. What movie blew your mind when you first saw it? The Matrix. Jurassic Park. The Prestige. Star Wars, 1977. I was 9 years old. Never saw anything like it before. Saving Private Ryan. My heart rate was sky-high fourth hole of the beach landing scene and I felt like I was there with them. Fight Club. It was such a weird movie with such crazy characters. Beautifully shot and a great story with themes that are still of interest today. Terminator 2 edited to add, "Wow, I didn't realize just how many people felt the same way." Thanks for the awards, everyone. Interstellar. Pulp Fiction. I had no idea you could tell a story non-linearly. Blew my mind. I actually finished the movie, rewound the tape, and watched it again, just to make sure you understood it properly and also because of how awesome it was. Still my favorite film of all time. Inception. Arrival. Raiders of the Lost Ark. I was about 9 and walked out of the theater like, wow, edited to say, "Please don't spend money." ID's just a fond memory. Something that can't be repeated. The nearest thing was taking a rip-off nitrous on acid and jumping into a swimming pool a few years later. Synthetic simplicity. The Sixth Sense. Before the internet, you could actually watch a movie with a surprise ending and have it be a surprise. And anyone who says, "I knew," is a ucking liar. Edit. I reiterate, anyone who says, "I knew," is a filthy ucking liar. Memento. The first Pirates of the Caribbean. You meet your 13-year-old self, but can only tell them 3 words. What do you say and why? Don't date Jessica. Buy Apple stock. Don't start smoking. Clean teeth. Save. Call child services. Return the slab. Read this note. May 5, 2009 and #X200B. I will be looking forward to that day for an extremely long time, and it will have 0 impact in my life. Gonna be hilarious when it happens. Be the first guy to actually play a prank on himself. Not passing that opportunity up. Stop procrastinating, dumbass. No way my 13-year-old self would listen to me, but just in case. Lester Champs 15-16. Buy many Bitcoin. Don't date Dave. Because you, Dave, you abusive piece of hit. It gets better. I was suicidal and it would have really helped top now that Dad's gonna die. He went when I was 18 and, God, I would give anything, to have known it was coming and spent more time with him. Edit. Thanks to everyone that's replied and I am sorry to everyone that's gone through a similar Orsame loss. Many seem to have been cancer. My dad. Didn't go from cancer but sadly alcohol addiction and the long-term effects that come from that. What is your favorite insult that doesn't sound like an insult? It's impressive how you manage to stay so confident. See you later, not if I see you first. This has become so common in language that people didn't realize it's an insult. You're literally saying if I see you first, I'm going to avoid you. I hope the rest of your day is as pleasant as you are. It's hard to underestimate you. There's a Yiddish one. I hope someone names a child after you. It sounds nice until you realize that Jews don't name children after living relatives. You continue to meet expectations. I once made a moderately humorous remark among some friends and one person said to me, "That's the funniest thing you've ever said." I think they meant well, but it really was quite the burn. You're at the top of the bell curve. What's a news story that got buried that you think more people need to hear? That time a few years ago when Equifax doxed a third of the US and only one person saw any jail time, and just 4 months at that. UK post office scandal. Over a decade, hundreds of sub-postmasters were sacked, prosecuted, bankrupted and even jailed for supposedly stealing from their own businesses. Turns out the post office had installed a shoddy accounting software which was randomly throwing out incorrect transactions. The post office had behaved abominably from beginning to end, spending millions dragging the case through the courts in the hope that the claimants would run out of funds. Even today, decades later, the compensation shemmy has become a scandal within a scandal, with some claimants who lost hundreds of thousands being offered only few grand in compensation. Others having their claims gobbled up by bankruptcy fees. The civil war in Myanmar got absolutely buried by the Ukraine-Russia war. The Mormon Church became one of the richest organizations in the world by creating illegal shell stock holdings. They finally made a vaccine for malaria, the deadliest disease in history, and it wasn't international news. 10,000 pounds of highly explosive ammonium nitrate disappeared from a rail car last week. That's what they used in Oklahoma City. I remember the day when the vice president of Monsanto, Michael R. Taylor, became the deputy commissioner of the FDA. Why do I remember this? Every news station was screaming about gay marriage, and this little Poison VP transferred to being in charge of our food supply without the barest whisper. Monsanto and former deputy commissioner of the FDA. It may not be current news, but by all means, that story was buried. The San Jose Police Union's executive director was found by the U.S. Justice Department to have been trafficking fentanyl into the Bay Area for the past 8 years. Edit, a word. This is actually pretty recent, yet no one talks about it. Larry Page, the co-founder of Google, has gone missing. Like nobody knows where he is. U.S. Virgin Islands are trying to find him to subpoena him, due to his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. I scrawled so far on this thread, and there isn't a single mention of him. There was a scandal in Germany in the 70s and 80s where the pharma industry used contaminated blood products to make a medicine for people who go hemophilia so they don't spend too much money on making the medicine. Hemophilia means that you have no blood clotting, and it is not that common. Well, the contaminated medicine gave roundabout 4.500 hemophilic persons HIV and or hepatitis C. What kink makes you say, "That's it, I'm kink shaming"? When your fetish starts to involve non-consenting people, like leaving fluids on things, kids exposed to it, X'd. People with a humiliation fetish. Because they should be ashamed. Those disgusting, dirty little perverts. I'm not kink shaming, I'm kink asking why. Climacophilia, getting aroused from seeing someone fall downstairs. Any kink I am exposed to in public or in a place where I could reasonably expect to not to be exposed to a kink. You know, being a tolerant person doesn't mean you have to tolerate everything. I'm so glad I don't know what a lot of these are. So long as everyone involved consents, then I don't care, honestly. And no, children and animals can't consent, so that doesn't count. Weighted underwater autoerotic asphyxiation is a pretty interesting one. Crush fetish. There are so many things wrong here, not the least of which is the harm you're doing. Get counseling. There is a kink that is nails. I mean metal nails. Like ingesting rubbing, everything you could do with it is this kink. Women who watch porn, what is your biggest pet peeve? When people go straight from SS to USSY. That's just a UTI waiting to happen, like come on. Everything just looks so dry. Edit. Great. After almost a decade on this app, my most upvoted comment is about 0RN. Who'd have thunk? Edit 2. UCK it, they're just internet points. Join the fight against climate change. Women who shriek like seagulls after your chips. No real foreplay. The fake aught moans. Awkward actual positions to get the right angle for filming. Jackhammer style sex. Everything about it is fake and cringe. Inch-long acrylics anywhere near her bits. Why is the POV always from the guy's viewpoint? Also, almost everything is step porn. It's weird. Lesbian porn is made for men and lesbian porn for women is too hard to find. The plumber never fixes the sink. The guys are rarely ever vocal. Girls fake moan in porn all the time, but most men just grunt, if not at all. It's so hot when men moan too. Dry vaginas. They're clearly not into it, but yet you keep pumping. Friction is real and that ish hurts. My wife hates how low jobs take inordinate amounts of time in porn. Like AMN, just UCK already. As a man, these comments are showing me that none of us like most orn.